Hello, everybody. I'm going to just begin really gently. I'm Anna Niland, Associate Director at the National Youth Theatre. My pronouns are she, her. It's absolutely fantastic that you've all joined us today for our careers fair. And I'm going to sort of introduce the panel, get them to introduce themselves in a moment. But I suppose the aim of today is to be able to demystify lots of the disciplines within the creative industries and to focus on all the ways that you can get into these industries as well, and to hear from our brilliant panelists about their route into their discipline and why and what it means and what it is. So it's brilliant that you're all here. Just an audio description of myself. For those, I have black hair, I have black glasses, and I like to wear red lipstick. And my pronouns are she, her. And so I'm going to pass over to Sylvia first. And Sylvia, if you could just introduce yourself and tell us your link to the National Youth Theatre as well as your discipline. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sylvia Darkwa-Ohemeng. I'm a freelance stage manager or working stage management, and my link to the National Youth Theatre, first and foremost, I used to stage manage a few of the Playing Up plays, but I am now also a youth trustee. No, I'm not even a youth trustee, I'm a big woman now. I'm a trustee. I'm a trustee.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sylvia. And I'm now going to go to Jessica.
Hi, I'm Jessica Hung Young, and I'm a lighting designer, and my pronouns are she, her. And I have black hair that's just in a bun at the moment, and I'm wearing a black fleece. Yeah, I'm a lighting designer, and my link to National Youth Theatre is that I am on the board of trustees.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Jessica. And I'm going to come right down below me is Kwame. I'm going to come to you, Kwame.
Hey, my name is Kwame Odum. My pronouns are he, him. I'm mixed race, black and white. I've got lightish skin, a nose piercing, and a large black afro. I'm an actor, and I was a member of the National Youth Theatre. I trained with the rep company, and I'm now an associate.
Thank you, Kwame. And I'm going to come to Jade.
Hi everyone, my name is Jade Lewis. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a freelance theatre director. At the moment I have a grey headband and some braids that I need to get redone, but we won't talk about that. And yeah, my link to the National Youth Theatre is, to be honest, I've seen a lot of the Playing Up shows, and I've worked with many collaborators who have written or directed or played within the National Youth Theatre. So it's great to be here as someone who's just admired all their work. That's
brilliant. Thank you, Jade. And finally, I'm going to come to Renelle.
Hi everyone, my name is Renelle Shaw. My pronouns are he, him. I have very short brown hair. I'm wearing a black jumper and I have a little earring in. My connection to National Youth Theatre is I'm currently working as a composer and musical director for an abridged version of Othello.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And welcome to the panel, and thank you for giving your time today. It's really, really important, I think, that we get the opportunity to chat directly with you about your careers and your pathways, so that the young people, the teachers and everybody here can get a true understanding of what you do, what your job is, and how you've managed to get there. So I suppose my first question is around career pathways. And it'd be great if you could each tell me how you managed to get into your chosen discipline, why you wanted to do what you're doing, and we'll come to how next. I think we'll just do that why, and that would be great. So I'm going to start with Sylvia.
Hi, I just realised I didn't do my audio description. I've got black curly hair, a green jumper, and purple afro earrings. Done.
Amazing afro earrings.
Thanks, they're from Hot Brown Honey. Bit of a selling point there, sorry guys. So I Oh, did you say why, or you're asking how? Sorry.
How you got into your career path and why?
Great. So I got into my career path by joining a youth organisation called DreamArts when I was about 15 years old. They had a program called Street to Stage, and yeah, that's where I kind of found stage management. My first year there, I was a saxophonist, so I played music, I was in the band, and then later on I was like, oh, what goes on backstage? And then they said you could do whatever you want when you come back, and I was like, great. And it ended up being a deputy stage manager, which I was very scared about, but I had a wonderful, wonderful teacher who taught me how to do a book, organize cast, timings and everything. So it was great. And I never looked back since. And they've kind of nurtured me into going to drama school. So I went to Rose Bruford a long time ago, and I've now been stage managing ever since. So it's been quite a while. It's been like professionally, I think over 10 years, I think I've done stage management. And the why is because I love it. I think naturally my skills were transferable. I was quite an organized young person anyway, because I did quite a lot of things regarding music and choir. So I had to be organized. So I think naturally, I think they saw something in me and said, look, why don't you try this and see what happens? And yeah, I just never looked back since. I wanted to be a lawyer. Can you imagine telling my African parents that I wanted to do stage management?
we can come back to that if you want to talk about that. But that's brilliant, Sylvia. That's amazing. I too went to Rose Bruford way before you. So there we go. Okay, so Jessica, let's come over to you.
I also went to Rose Bruford. Yay! Got a little crew. But yeah, so I got into lighting design at GCSE. I didn't know basically what subjects to take at GCSE, and I chose GCSE drama because I thought it'd be really easy to pass. It was not easy to pass. I couldn't act, got stage fright, it was terrible. I was also really bad at writing. And I had a technician there, and we had like quite a small like black box theatre with like a few lights and like sound equipment, and the technician there basically said, do you want to try and do sound? Because I was that bad. They were like, put her on something else. So they were like, try and do sound or some lighting. And then I really enjoyed lighting. I don't know, there was something really about it that I thought was pretty amazing, and the things that you can do with it in terms of like storytelling, and there's some really cool stuff which I was just like, hey, this is really interesting. And then found out, ended up doing the A levels, and then found out I could like go and do it at a drama school. So that's kind of how I got into it. And yeah, why? It's because I think lighting has so many endless possibilities, and you can never stop learning with it. And I think that's one of the most amazing things.
That's amazing. And also, I suppose it doesn't restrict you just into the theatre as well, in terms of the world. And I know we'll talk about the fact that, you know, people initially think we're just lighting for the theatre or stage managing shows for inside the theatre. But I think more than ever, it's about opening our minds a little bit to where else work can be, rather than inside a sort of very restrictive space that we can't sit next to anybody in anymore. So thank you, Jessica. I'm going to come to Kwame.
Yeah, I did youth theatre when I was a kid. I was part of Company 3 youth theatre. It wasn't Company 3 at the time. And then I went to Sheffield Uni and did philosophy and Spanish, so like a non-theatrical thing. But joined the National Youth Theatre just before I went. And then after I graduated, I auditioned for and got into the rep company, and sort of got into acting, got my agent from there. And I kind of like, my reason why I also do a lot of like sort of theatre making generally, but my reason why kind of changes, I think, day to day. And I think part of it is that I generally love like doing loads of different, I get really like excited by certain things, and then I pick it up. Like I'll learn card magic for a summer, and then I just never do any of it again, or I'll like get really into chess and then like I stop. And I think there's something that connects that with the fact that as like when you're in theatre or you're doing it, you can like get really into like 18th century London for like weeks, and then you sort of let it go, and then you're into something else, you can get really into it. And I think that quite, like, it agrees with my spirit in that sense.
And I suppose you also identify as a theatre maker as well, don't you, Kwame?
Yeah. So I've helped run a company called The Pappy Show, make like devise physical theatre. I also do like a bit of directing and movement directing as well.
Yeah.
And it just comes, again, I think that's the same thing of like, I not wanting to just do one thing, of like being really excited by the possibilities of movement, or by just wanting slightly maybe more control as a director. Control is not the right word, but sort of a larger remit or overview. So I was like looking at Jade, I was like, oh no, I don't do it. Yeah, and I think sort of being able to do all of that and pick it up and do different bits suits me quite well.
Brilliant, thank you so much. And Jade?
Yeah, weirdly similar to Kwame's experience, especially the beginning. Like, I used to be a part of a youth drama group called Mayhem Theatre Company, and it was mayhem. It really was, but it was so much fun. And yeah, I think the fun that I had, I think, made me want to work in theatre, but I knew I didn't want to perform. I liked it, but I would always want like the smallest character with the less lines. Like, that was me. I was pretty shy. Anyway, I went to university. I studied history, so something completely different. But again, I just really loved theatre as a world and a medium. Anyway, I graduated. I did like a random writing course because I was like, "Oh, I don't know what to do," which was fun. Goldsmiths, it was fun. And then one of my friends did the introduction to directing course at the Young Vic, and basically was like, Jade, get on this course. You'd probably really enjoy it. So I did. So I did in 2012. Did the introduction to directing course at the Young Vic, and just fell in love with the role. Honestly, like, it was like, oh wow, someone can work with actors, not be on stage, but think about lighting, think about sounds. Like, I love music. That's a big thing, a big part of me. And yeah, and for me, I was just able to just play with such a variety of different components and kind of think about the bigger picture of the whole thing. And that was really, really appetizing to me. And yeah, and then from there, I just started assisting, and then eventually putting on shows. But my background was a devised background, because Mayhem was a devised theatre company, so it's all about improv. So yeah, I understand the making process. And then it was very much like doing a director's course and then being presented a script, and I was like, what is this? Because that is not my language. So it was, again, like a whole new skill set. But I really, really like the idea of playing with a variety of components to make one thing. So that's kind of like my how and my why, I think.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's really great. I think it's really important that that we're not just trapped into one thing. I think it's really easy to see what you think acting, what the theatre is, and you see the performer and you think that that's what theatre is, that it's just the actor. It's so important that I remember that. Oh, that's all I knew. That's all I thought there was. And I went and did drama school, and to be an actor. And actually, had I known what a director was, or had I known what sort of community theatre was, or participatory theatre, or maybe I would have gone a different route. I don't regret anything, but I think we didn't talk in my day. You didn't really talk about all the other disciplines that go into it. And I think it's now more than ever, we've got to demystify this and make sure that everybody sees the massive wide range of careers that are possible in our industry. Ronelle.
Yes. So I went to a performing arts secondary school in North London called Highgate Wood. And what was really cool about that is a lot of opportunities would pass through there. Two major opportunities being the Hackney Empire, who came and done some outreach work. And I was like, this is amazing. I've never seen theatre that close. I didn't understand performance in such a way. So I went down to their auditions. This is in 2002. And I auditioned for their arts development program. And that really got me into understanding theatre, not just from a consumer perspective, but from a perspective of literally building a show in 2 weeks. So very quickly learning how to musically direct, learning how to cater to the scene rather than just, hey, look, I'm playing, look at me, and how to work with bands, which I'd never done before. I also got involved in a project called Raw Material, which was a studio-based project. And that's where I learned to the inner workings of, well, a studio setup, mixers and miking up things and recording yourself and producing. And I think for as long as I've been into music, I've always been insatiably curious about anything to do with music. So I started playing guitar, but then I wanted to play bass because I'm a big fan of dub and reggae music. So bass lines for days. And then I wanted to get into musical directing because I had ideas, but they weren't happening the way I wanted to, but you need to direct the band, and then composition and production and sound design. And I would just try anything to do with music. And what would happen is some of those projects or things I was doing for free when I started, some of those directors or young actors or actresses became successful actors and actresses, successful film directors and artists. One of my first professional musical director gigs was with Maverick Sabre, before he was the Maverick Sabre everyone knows. And it was just, I'm up for it because, you know, my title involves music, so I'll give it a go. And through experience and through talking and asking people a lot of questions, I started to figure out my own method on how to operate in the industry and how to, I guess, grow within the industry. Yeah.
Brilliant, amazing, thank you. So in terms of technical theatre and sort of backstage roles, I'm just going to come to a few of you, particularly about that route and how to get involved, where to get involved, how can they expand their skills at the moment. A young person, maybe I'll make up a young person, and I'm sure in the chat, please post questions as we go along. But maybe a young person that's 15 or 16 or 17 or 18, a sort of young person like that, where do they start? If they know they've got an interest in either, like you, Sylvia, if they know they've got skills where they're organised and you know, they're bright and they love the theatre, but they don't know quite what route to go and how to start, or the same with you, Jessica, if they're nervous about being on stage, but they've taken drama GCSE, and so what's their route? Sylvia, I'm going to start with you.
Why not start with Jess? Anyway,
I will next time.
How do you get involved? I think I would say any preferable youth theatre project or program or company. I think all these companies are really useful to get to know other people who like the same things as you, get to know a variety of different people who like the industry or like performing arts. I think for technical and backstage, it's different, because I think what people do is they go to the acting thing first, and then they go, actually, I'm crap, and then they go second backstage. And what you don't want to do is promote that everyone who works backstage had their second choice of being backstage because acting was the first thing. I'm going to tell you from now, acting was not my first thing. For me, I've seen it, it looks great, I leave it to you guys. You know, I like to kind of be part of the process in a different way. And that's how I think being part of DreamArts allowed me to see that I can actually be part of the creative process and still work with actors and loads of other people and still do what I need to do and contribute to that production. But I think in this day and age, and because we're always on Zoom, what I would say, I'm being really biased now, because what I'm doing with Backstage Niche, so it's a company that I champion freelancers who work in technical and backstage from various ethnic backgrounds to kind of do workshops online, but practical workshops. And that's kind of currently what I will be doing. I think I've got a few in March. And I think that's kind of an easy way to get people on Zoom and to see kind of what we do. I do a lot of share screen so people can see how a deputy stage manager marks their book. Everybody is different, but I will be showing like how I mark my book and the different the different like shorthand that we use for lighting and sound, like LXQs and, you know, things like that. So I think
Can I just ask you just to explain what you mean by my book, just for those people that might not know?
So like the book is like the show Bible, and it has everything got to do with everything with the production. It has all the light cues, all the sound cues, all the exits and entrances for the actors, because when y'all forget your lines and when you forget where you're coming from, then you look at the book. It's funny.
Sorry, I'm just meant to just allow this slander to continue.
I don't know, I'm just saying, you know, remember when you shout line, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
The
you're
book
right.
is there.
You're
So
right.
basically, that's what the book is for. Hence why Kwame got offended. Yeah, so that's what the show Bible is. It's like, yeah, it has everything got to do with the show, and like things got to do with health and safety, what the set looks like, what all the costumes look like, everything goes into that book. So that is what I mean by that. So there's, you know, the workshops that I provide is showing you how you cue a show, basically, how you write it out and how a DSM will cue a show. But there's other things as well. I think there's lots of sound workshops as well to kind of understand how mixing, it's not, yeah, well, it is great on, yeah, Zoom. You can still do it on Zoom. I'm gonna leave that to Renelle. Maybe Renelle's done it on Zoom, because I don't want to assume that it's that's the easy entity to do on Zoom. But yeah, in my respect, I think there are ways of still learning it and still kind of practicing the skills, is just to try and attend as much workshops as you can, because there are out there, and we are trying to kind of adapt to how to teach that, because we can't see each other.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. So you're saying you basically got involved in a youth theatre, or in a and then also there's loads of stuff now. This Zoom world has opened up. In a way, it's become quite sort of accessible. The fact that, you know, internationally and nationally we could join if we have access to a computer, and yeah, so that's brilliant. Thank you. We'll post in the chat the workshops that you were talking about. Renelle, what about you? What would you advise in terms of getting into?
Right. Offer your services. Sometimes people don't even know that you're willing to do things. I think that's helpful. Have something to show. It's great telling people what you can do, but if you can show them what you can do, then it saves a lot of time. I think collaboration is very important, especially now. I think we need to find ways to connect from a distance. And I think that studying, but not so much, I mean, studying is great anyway, but we have an opportunity, a very rare one, to actually study ourselves and not just go, what do I want to do, but who do I want to be? I think it's important to have a voice, and it's important to find that voice. And sometimes you can do that through things like getting involved in workshops, because you may go, wow, this is great, I got a lot from it, or actually I didn't, and I want to find my own path. And I think it's a really interesting time right now. I'm calling it a digital renaissance, because you know, we're able to, it's like we're reinventing, we're evolving, and the way things used to be done, some of those ways are going forward, other ways are being introduced, and other ways are having to evolve to survive. And I think the way that we kind of get our stuff out there is, it's I wouldn't say it's a free-for-all, but I'd say that the rules have changed and people are open to see how things can be done. So try new things. I've been talking with a few young musicians who are interested in getting into theatre about working with like poets or actors and actresses to write narrative-based stuff that they can then score music to, you know? And it's so interesting, because when I offer these suggestions, I think the common response is, I never thought of trying something like that. And I think that comes from us always kind of looking externally for someone to give us answers. And actually, I'm a big believer in taking, which I normally say as a disclaimer when I speak, is that everything I say is my opinion. So take what's useful, disregard what's useless, make of it what works for you. So, you know, it's just, I think for me, it's about looking outwards, but also looking inwards and going, well, how do I want to do things? I know people ain't doing it this way, but does that make it wrong? Like, what gives me an edge? And who's doing things that are interesting that I might try to do a different way? I think, I just really believe that there are major opportunities for new things to be added to the way of getting out there right now. So it's a tough one, because I can say certain things where it's like, yes, you can do workshops and connect and collaborate and put work out there, but what's the idea that you're a little too afraid to tell anybody that might be the coolest thing that's never happened yet? You know, that I really believe in. And I believe that sometimes spending some time just sitting with ourselves and going, how would I do something without any rule or formula to how you've seen things done before? I think that's how new art is made. I think that's how new ways of connecting and expanding on art is created. And I think, you know, the young people of today are the way art is going to look tomorrow. So a lot of you probably have more answers than you believe you do.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Ronelle. It's I think that's really key, is that sort of finding your fellow collaborators as well, and really sort of, even if they don't like the same thing as you, but what jointly can you create together? And I love that idea of underscoring somebody's poetry, or, you know, what do you have at your fingertips? You know, you don't need to go out and buy a massive instrument or whatever, you know, you can see what you've got together. That's really, really interesting way of putting it. Thank you so much. Jessica, how about you?
I'd say I mean, specifically for lighting, getting involved with your local theatre is a really great way. And yeah, I think that is a really true thing of like putting yourself out there and being, if it's something that you want to try, then try it, and always take the risk. Because yeah, you can always try again tomorrow is a really important thing. And I think a lot of people also feel like they have to go and study it, also for like lighting or for sound, for example, sound design. But there's a lot of people who also get into the industry by just like going to their local theatre and working there as a casual technician, which is a really great way. And I think during this time, there's a page called the Association of Lighting Designers, so the ALD, and that's a list of the majority of lighting designers who are in the industry. And if there's any designers who you really admire, don't be afraid to get in contact with them, and all their contact details are on there. And if there's someone's work that you really like, don't be afraid to contact them, because everyone is really open and really wants to chat and is really up for having conversations about, if you want to learn how an industry works, if you want to learn more about lighting or whatever it may be. It's a really open industry, and you can contact anyone who you want to talk to, I think is really important. And also, specifically for lighting, I would also say lighting is light is all around us 24/7. It is, you know, whether that be sunlight in the morning, whether it be the moonlight, whether it be the street lamp. When you walk down that same street every single day, you tend to kind of not notice your surroundings. So just be aware of your environment, and if you see, you know, a really cool shadow on the floor, just take a photo of it. If you see something that inspires you in the day, or that you think, oh, that looks really beautiful, and that's evoked a really strong emotional reaction for me, and I don't quite know what it is, just take a picture of it. And it's quite nice to kind of have an album of stuff that you can look back on and go, oh wow, that was a moment where I, you know, walked down a street and found that was a really beautiful light coming through the trees. And yeah, and you can find a lot of inspiration from that. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's all. Yeah.
Wow, I think that's so inspiring. You know, I really that brought tingles actually onto me. That thought of like what emotion you connect, and what, you know, that album of your world and your life around you can really inspire maybe the work that you then go on to do, and you look back on that album and go, oh, how did I feel when I looked at that light? And
yeah, 100%. And I think it's also taking that time to be really present, and to know kind of what's around you, and to just take it slow for a moment. And there's a lot of things that you then start to realize that are around you that can really inspire your work. and how you see things, how you perceive things.
I think again as well during this sort of COVID lockdown time, when we, you know, it feels like again that's something you can do independently as well, individually, with when it's so hard and when we're so lack of connection everywhere, but you can connect with the present and now and the world. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much. Jade, what would you say about directing?
In all honesty, I feel like it's almost a bit of what Sylvia said, a bit of what Jessica said, a bit of Renelle said. I think, you know, in terms of like, I feel like in terms of starting with Jessica, in terms of the idea of being in the moment and being in the now, like I feel like in the rehearsal room, for me, I'm with them, you know, I'm with who's there, and I'm ready to go, always ready. And so the idea of being aware of your surroundings, or taking inspiration from like the bird that flew away, or even today, I think I opened the front door and a bird literally scared me, and I was like, ah, like it's random, but remembering those moments, because that's what you're forever trying to recreate. You're forever trying to recreate our natural habitat, or our natural reactions, or, you know, basic humanity, essentially. So just remembering that you are a human, I think, definitely humbles me, but also, yeah, is inspiring, I think. Yes, workshops, yes, reach out to directors and creatives that you admire, because people are up for a chat, especially when now people can go days without even having a, you know, an actual conversation with anybody, let alone, you know, in person. So yeah, reach out to people. And also I think I found that throughout my journey, I've kind of worked a lot with new writing. So there's like kind of your classic text, or like your contemporary text, which is work that's kind of already been done, your Arthur Millers, your Shakespeares, all those people. And then you've got new work, which is like happening now, you know, where writers are writing away, and it's like, here's a fresh script, you know. And I found myself working a lot with new text, new writing, new writers, simply kind of going off the back of what Renelle was talking about in terms of new work, new voices, new art, a new way of, you know, exploring theatre as a thought, as a form. So my thing is don't feel locked up to know the canon personally. Again, this is my opinion, because there are directors that will say you need to know your Ibsens and you're this and you're that. I'm like, I'm cool. Personally, I want to know who the next Ibsen is. I want to know who the next Shakespeare is. That's who I want to work with. And those are the stories that I want to tell. I want to know the story about the lady who lives 2 roads down from me that I don't know her. I want to know her story. So again, it's kind of like taking inspiration from your own lives and the stories that you want to see, and kind of being able to collaborate with those people. And you might have a musician friend who's a poet. Hey, can I direct? Can I just, like, you know, be your, you know, your eyes looking at and making sure everything's cool? You know, jump in on those little collabs as well, just to kind of get your toolkit up, as it were. And also, if you have Disney Plus, watch Hamilton. That's also what I'll
Yeah.
that's literally my 2021. And if you don't have Disney Plus, find a friend who does. Please believe I use my cousin's account. I will say that legitly. He doesn't mind. So yeah, and I say that because every time you can watch it and you can notice one person follow Hamilton, you know, then follow follow Eliza, you know, you can follow different tracks, which is also good for like stage management as well, I would say, you know, looking at, you know, what props do they use, you know, because as a director, you know, what is the music doing, you know, what kind of drums can you hear at certain times, and what does that then mean, you know, what is the lighting doing, you know, because essentially as a director you have to have your eyes on all these things. And it's great that there is something out there of a real high caliber that you can kind of take inspiration from or study, in a sense, and sing along.
Yeah, it's brilliant, it's amazing. I saw it live, which is oh my god, amazing. Jade, while I've got you there, there's a question in the chat, and I promise we will get to some of these questions, and I'll get to you as well, Kwame, in a sec. But somebody's asked, Nay Murphy has asked, what is the first thing you do in a rehearsal with your actors? So I don't know whether, while we're just on you about that.
My first thing I do is I have a check-in which is basically going around the room, seeing how everyone is, and just creating a safe space where everyone can just say their truth. That can be like, I'm really sweaty because I ran for the bus, but or I'm fine, I'm great, I had a nice pleasant stroll into work, whatever it is, because when you're spending arguably 3 to 6 weeks with a group of people, life happens, life is real. And again, it goes back to the idea of we're all human beings on this planet, trying to make, do our thing. So creating that space where we can kind of come together and say whatever you want to say, let things go, let things slide, and then get on to the work. So yeah, a check-in.
Brilliant.
Also, can I also add,
Yes.
there's also someone I saw something in the chat about studying history and theatre and like parents. I know that might be another thing that you might bring up as well. But history, listen, there are so many reasons why one should study history. Number one, no, I'm joking. No, but seriously, there are. Because also that you can do conversion degrees. You can go from history to law. You can, once you've got a degree, you can basically do anything. And I think that's something that I feel that schools and colleges don't really promote. It's kind of like, this is your thing and this is what you'll forever be. Not necessarily. And you can also do multiple degrees. You can also do a master's. And yeah, basically it can kind of take you anywhere. You can do marketing with a maths degree, with a psychology degree, sociology degree, with anything. So yeah, it's the degree, I would say. Unless you're doing medicine or like physics or engineering, then that's a different conversation. But I just thought I'd throw that in there really quickly.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jade. And I think that whole culture of check-ins is something that National Youth Theatre is really, really advocates as well, because it's about, I think the reason behind doing a check-in is like you said, Jade, leaving things behind or acknowledging and placing your working together a safe space and allowing vulnerability to be able to be in that space, which is really important when you're going to be spending that time together to create something, especially with new work as well, because you often ask the actors to be very creative around the creating the script and the character too. So really great to hear that. And yeah, I was going to come to that question as well. I think it's really important that we talk about subjects and also parents and people seeing maybe drama or the industry as something that isn't viable, maybe career-wise and financially, and currently in this current climate where we know it's hugely challenging. It would be really interesting to hear your perspective on why the creative industries, and is it a viable option, and subjects. I mean, I wasn't particularly academic at school, so for me, and we didn't have drama, GCSE or O level when I was doing it. So I moved to a school that did do an A level in drama, and I only did 2 A levels, and I did music and drama, and I chose them because they were the subjects I could do and that I loved. And I think that that's really important. And I know that there's huge pressure on people to pick certain particular subjects in order to get a certain route. There's a real pressure on young people to follow a very particular pathway. And like Jade said, I think maybe it's not all a myth, but there are lots of different routes and lots of different pathways. And by making a choice at 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 does not define you for the rest of your life. There's lots of different ways to get through things. Kwame, I'm going to come to you to talk about maybe that sort of creative industries and routes and educational choices, because you went to university, you did a completely different degree.
Yeah. I think there's probably as many people as there are in the creative industry. There are different routes in, because no one is coming from you're coming from a different family. You're immediately having a different route in, because everyone's life is just slightly different. So it's quite hard to. So the one thing, it kind of ties in as well. I saw a question about what you wished you'd known when you were 14 about the industry. I knew absolutely nothing about the industry when I was 14, and I wouldn't change a thing about that. I think doing youth theatre, like acting, making stuff purely for loving it, is why I want to do this now, not because I was sort of at 14. Like, I did want to be an actor, I think, but I didn't really look into what it was. And it was just me following something that I love doing. And similarly, when it came time to go into university, the fact that it never really, I still wanted to be an actor, but it never really occurred to me to go to drama school. And I really wanted to go to university. And so I went to university because I just really wanted to go to university. And I thought, well, if I want to be an actor and if it's kind of meant to be, then I can do that afterwards. And the experience I had at university was incredible. And I would never change it for the world. It made me the person I am. And that sort of then ties into how I approach things as a creative, as an actor, completely. I'm just sort of losing my train of thought. I just think it's like, it's a hard thing. Like, we should all just, you should do what you want, because you never know what your passions and interests are going to lead into. Like, I'm thinking when Renell was picking up instruments and doing music, he did, and I doubt he was thinking, oh my God, absolute musical composer in sort of theatre and film is absolutely where this needs to lead me. You know what I mean? You never know where it's going. I did a lot of like parkour and gymnastics stuff, and now I'm in a physical theatre company. I didn't know physical theatre existed when I was 14 and I was trying to flip off benches. I had no idea. I was just doing it because like I like scaring my mum. It's essentially, but that interest and that passion has transferred over, and I can use the skills and things that I've learned. You know what I mean? Like, if you're doing history, you will learn things. It won't necessarily be dates or whatever, but you will learn things that will inevitably impact upon your creative practice. Whatever, even if it's just a love of studying things and looking deeper into things, that will inform in ways that you can't ever sort of foresee. So I don't know if I'm asking the question, but I would just really encourage you to sort of follow things that interest you, things that really you are passionate about, and just trust that you will be able to step slightly sideways into theatre, into creative industries, as and when the time comes.
Yeah, I think also somebody said, if I don't choose to learn drama in school, are you still able to study it in college or university? And I think absolutely you are. I think some schools don't offer it, so you don't even have the choice to. So absolutely, you can pick it up and
I
go.
I did BTEC Performing Arts at GCSE. My school didn't offer drama GCSE at all. So I did BTEC Performing Arts, and then I didn't do it at A level.
Yeah.
All I did was sort of youth theatre. I did NYT while I was at university, but I didn't do any theatre stuff at the actual university. I know people who did whole degrees and then went. I know a friend who has become a writer and producer. He started when he was 36 after having worked in sort of tech and different things, and he's sick at it. You know what I mean? It'll come. You just follow the interest.
Yeah, brilliant. Sylvia, could I ask you about your decision to not go against your parents, but you mentioned earlier that, that your mum and dad or your parents or your carers maybe didn't want you to go into this creative industry. Could you just talk a little bit about that pressure?
Yeah, I think like anyone's parents, all they see is acting. They think, well, what else is there if you're not on stage? What the heck are you doing? So I went from banging on about being a lawyer. Maybe that was my fault, banging on about it before I thought I found theatre. But I was like, oh yeah, lawyer. And they got excited. And then I started doing the stage management stuff in the summer, and I kept going back every year. And the problem was, for them, it was for something for me to do every summer. So it was fun. So they didn't see it as, oh, she's going to take it seriously. And then when I was like, oh, I'm looking at drama schools. Oh, I'm now assisting on shows. And they're like, what? And I'm like, oh, quite like, I'm going to do this thing. And they're like, what? So my mum was like asking a lot of questions, like, is it sustainable? Can you make money from it? Are you going to be okay? I think these are just general parent questions, but also a world that she just knew nothing about. So I really had to prove myself to my mum and my dad and be like, this is what I want to do. Don't worry, I'll see how it goes. Because again, like Kwame mentioned, I didn't do any drama in my academic year, nothing. It was all psychology, sociology, English, media. Oh, media was like the only thing, but I was kind of like, oh, this looks fun. But apart from that, no, everything I did was outside of school. I worked during, like, outside of school. I worked during sixth form. I worked during drama school. I kind of just had to build my contacts up, and I knew I had to prove it to my parents, basically. I just knew I had to be good at it to prove that I made the right decision and that I really love doing it, because it is great. I still love doing it. So yeah, and now it's great, but I still can't win because my mum now moans that I travel too much. And when am I going to settle? And I'm like, I'm fine. I'm engaged now. What more do you want from me? I proved to you I could do the career. I just don't know what to do, Anna. But yeah,
you can't win.
Yeah, but she's happy though. She's really glad, like, where I've come from, because I think she was worried. She was really worried, but it's fine. Yeah, it's all good. She came to watch one show, which was my last third year show at the Unicorn Theatre, and I think she got it. She finally got it. Yeah, she got it, and she was like, "Oh, great, cool."
I think that's really you sort of really hit the nail on the head there, when you don't know what it is because you can't see it. So for many people who maybe don't know about stage management, they just see the performer, don't they, or the theatre or the box office as they come in. But for the stage manager, you're behind, you're not seen. Your whole job is not seen. Like quite a lot of the disciplines. Yeah,
and the most that you hear from us is probably, you've got 5 minutes until we start the show, and you're like, I wonder who does that. Me. Oh, that's me. You know what I mean? Like, there's little things that you don't know we do, and then so it's really fun doing things like that, and you're like, that was our team. That was great. But yeah.
So Jessica, I'm going to come to you to talk about sort of training in terms, because you went to Rose Bruford, and you did lighting design at Rose Bruford.
Yeah, so I went, and my main thing with my parents is that they were just like, we just want you to get a degree, and I was like, okay. And then my technician Pete was like, well, you can actually go and study this and get a degree in lighting design if you go to Rose Bruford. So I was like, okay, cool, like I'll go and do that. So I went and studied it, and I definitely learned a lot. I mean, I must admit, my first year I kind of just went out and partied and didn't really do what I was meant to do at university. But it was really like, I don't know, it was like the first time I'd like moved away from home and like felt like I had independence. So I think I kind of just went a bit wild. But then I chilled in my second and third year, and I really got to like, I don't know. I think it was also like I found myself quite a lot there, and there's a lot of friends that I also made when I was there, which was really great. But I also came out of that going, I don't know what to do with my life. I don't know how to get. I still don't feel like I know how to get into this industry. I still feel like a kid. Like, what do? I need to pay rent. Wah! And then just went and worked in retail for like 3 years. Because I was just like, I don't really, and then eventually like got back into it. So, but then there's also loads of other stories of other lighting designers who got into it by just like working at their local theatre or getting in contact with a lighting designer and asking to shadow them, and then they learn on the job that way. And so there's loads of different ways of kind of getting into it.
Yeah, someone said if where's the question gone? What are some misconceptions about the industry that you wish were discussed more? So Renelle, I wondered whether you would like to answer that. Misconceptions about the industry that you wish were discussed a little bit more.
That it's easier to get into than television make it look. I think it's a lot of fun when you're in it, but it's the journey towards that you never really see. You have to work hard. But in parallel to that, you have to work smart, As a musician and as a composer, it's important to know your instrument. I'm not saying that you have to have down scales and theory and be able to sight read and stuff, but you have to know what you want to do with your instrument, and you have to know how your skills can give you access to the things that you may want to get into. As an example, if you want to be a theatre musician, then you need to know how to sight read. Whether you want to or not doesn't actually matter. Even if you have a great memory and you could hear it once and do it, it's about being able to, get into the system if you want to change the system. So I do believe that the importance of hard and smart work are things that should really be looked at a little bit more. However, I do believe that smart work and hard work can still be fun work. Something my mum always says to me, when she still says it to me now, she said it to me this morning, is that when studying or working on your craft and developing yourself, she says, remember why you started. And that was very, very, it had a very big impact on me, because it's very easy to get caught up in trying to make it and then forgetting why you're trying to make it. And it was this 13-year-old who heard a guitar being played in front of him for the first time that made him go, I want to do this for the rest of my life. Yeah. And having that as a foundation allows me to enjoy sitting down and practice it. I don't like practicing now, but I do what needs to be done to get to where I need to go. And I think those are the things that I wish were told more, it's, you don't have to know everything. You don't have to master everything, but be pretty proficient at the things that help you go in the direction you want to go.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I think something I would say as well, as sort of from an acting sort of background, I would say, I think there isn't a space where you can go and learn to be an actor in a certain length of time and come out of a drama school and then you're an actor. It feels like, for most disciplines and most crafts in the creative industries, you learn forever, you keep learning, and that you as you grow and as you're developing in your own self, you're learning lots of different things. I think it's a real misconception to think you can just go and train and then that's it, you're done, you are finished product. And that's why I think it's more interesting to look at the different pathways and to look at the continuous training and workshop and developments and collaborations. That would be my sort of misconception, I think, about the industry and training. I think it's important to train because I think it's a brilliant thing to know your craft, but training comes in all shapes and sizes. There isn't just one route that costs £60,000.
Totally agree. I'd say to add to that is, yes, you need to know your craft, but you have to know what you're trying to use your craft to, like what trajectory is your craft trying to take you on, because obviously acting for screen has different skills that are needed than acting for stage. It's the same as composing for film is different to composing for theatre. Similar but different. So definitely know your craft, know your trade, and have a direction. It's allowed to change, but have at least a direction.
Yeah, brilliant. So I just want to ask each of you a top tip that you could give a young person who wants to pursue a career in the creative industries. What would your top tip be in your discipline? And then I know, Maisie, I will come to your question. I just can't find it in the chat. So Maisie, if you could post your question again. I can see that you really need a question answered, but I can't see what the question was. So please post it again. And while Maisie is doing that, please, can you think about your top tip? Jade, I'm going to come to you first for your top tip.
My top tip for a young person, it makes me go back to, so I went, when I was younger, because I'm still young, when I was younger, why am I doing this? And I think my top tip is the fact that I had 2 friends who I could talk to about anything in regards to creativity, ideas. We ended up, so I was a part, like I said before, I was part of a Mayhem drama youth theatre. Sorry, can't speak. And basically, by the time we were by the time we were like 21, we ended up taking it over, the 3 of us. So it was one of them ones where we started as acting, having fun, but it was just like these 2 friends. So have your 2 friends, or have your 1 friend that you can just be real with and talk to and bounce our ideas from. And I still have those friends. So that's my top tip, because they're the ones who will push you, encourage you, share opportunities, and you will obviously do the same. So therefore you don't feel like you're alone trying to do it.
And you found those friends at that youth theatre. So you found your tribe, as it were. You found your collaborators, your connectors. Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant. Thanks, Jade. Kwame.
I think my tip would be similar to like the little monologue I went on, which is that your passions and interests outside of theatre will only benefit you. I think the best artists are sort of whole human beings who bring all of themselves to their work. So really cultivate passions and interests outside of theatre, because they'll benefit you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kwame. Sylvia.
My top tip, I think connect. I think just kind of get out there, do what you need to do, like reach out to people. Like everyone said here, everyone's we're happy to talk.
There is a feedback form. I think Sean is saying there is a feedback form, so please do fill the feedback form in. That would be amazing. And thank you again for coming, and do connect to NYT and to your local community theatre group. Thank you. Lots of thank yous in the chat. Thank you to the panel, and we'll see you soon.